So, Nightreign. I have some thoughts. First off, I want to say that this game is not for me, and I just want to share my opinions and perspective because it might help someone else in choosing whether or not to jump in and spend a bunch of time into Nightreign or not and skip it. Or maybe wait for some big patch down the road or some sort of balance type of stuff to kick in. So I'm a big fan of Elden Ring, and I'm a big fan of FromSoft in general. I've played most of their games at this point. I've put a lot of time into Bloodborne, Elden Ring, obviously, Dark Souls 1, 3, Sekiro. I've played the majority of their catalog at least a couple times at this point, aside from maybe Sekiro. I think I've only played that once. Needless to say, I like FromSoft games a lot. So Nightreign is definitely a departure from the typical formula that you see in FromSoft titles. And that really is for better or worse, depending on your perspective on this stuff. If you come into this game expecting a Elden Ring experience, you're going to be disappointed pretty heavily. It does look like Elden Ring. I mean, it's basically Elden Ring assets and engine, modified. A lot of people talked about how this could be like a community mod, essentially, or something to that degree, like a professional grade community mod. And it does kind of feel like that initially. So I didn't spend a ton of time with this game because I knew right off the bat that this just is not the experience that I'm looking for in this environment. And the reason I say that is because this has got that roguelike formula baked into a FromSoft engine, essentially. And in my opinion, I don't think that really works that well. Feel free to disagree. I know some people are going to absolutely love this game, and I think that is awesome. And I also appreciate the fact that FromSoft is trying different stuff. Like, this is important. Game directors need a chance to breathe and flex and try some different things. And not everything's going to work, and not everything should be for everyone. A lot of people loved Elden Ring, and there was a lot of people that didn't like Elden Ring. I remember when Elden Ring was first getting glazed pretty hard, there was a lot of people being like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care about this game. And that's totally fair. So there's probably going to be a lot of people that expect maybe that same type of hype around Elden Ring for Nightreign, and then they're going to be like, this isn't quite it. And that's fair too, okay? My main criticism with this game is that the formula of a roguelike usually expects a few things from the player that's going to be inherent. It's speed, it's a lot of flexibility, and it's usually a very satisfying combat system that clicks with that pacing and all that. Obviously, combat in Elden Ring is very fun, right? For whatever reason, the enhanced speed, in my opinion, doesn't really mesh well with the way this game feels from a player perspective. Now, the reason why I say that is because a lot of FromSoft games are built on this incredibly well-crafted cohesion of combat mixed in with level design and really thoughtful placement of how enemies are laid out and how a boss is presented in a certain area and how you unlock shortcuts and get to it, and you kind of plan your route, and then you make some mistakes, you fail, then you come back, you try it again and again and again and again until you feel like you really mastered something. And that's a very powerful formula and experience. It's basically driven the company's design philosophy for a long time at this point, and there's a reason. It's very successful. It works. So Nightreign is obviously a big departure from this, and I personally think it's going to fit a type of player base. I don't think it's going to sustain big numbers in the long run. I could be wrong, and I'm totally willing to be like, oh, it turns out they did some stuff and did some balance things, and this thing really popped. But I think the majority of people looking for this type of experience are already going to be niche players. People who speedrun Souls games, people who do like challenge type of stuff for Souls games, maybe level 0 type of playthroughs, no-hit challenges, going through Bloodborne with the starting weapon, those type of things, which I actually did. I've had many Bloodborne run-throughs, and one of them was just with the cane, and I really enjoyed it. So not to say that I'm not the target audience for this game, specifically. It's just I realized in playing it that it's not the type of game that I actually want to invest a bunch of time into right now. It's partially because the repetition of it is random, because it's a roguelike, right? So you're going to have usually a different experience every time you jump into the game. And personally, I don't think that works very well with this type of format. Because again, the FromSoft formula seems to be this really methodical playthrough type of experience where you learn what you're trying to go up against, you make mistakes, you die a bunch of times, it's like you died, and then all of a sudden it clicks, and the boss you've been trying to defeat, you own it. You make it your bitch, essentially, right? Like, that's an incredibly satisfying experience. Whereas with this game, all those things from a FromSoft combat system are in here. The bosses and the weapons and all that, and they're great, but the repeatability is not there. I mean, it probably is there if you play a ton. Like, if you sink 100 hours in the first month, you're probably going to see a bunch of the stuff over and over. So there's that to consider. But in terms of trying to get good, essentially, that whole aspect assumes you're already well honed. Your experience level at knowing how to adapt to certain situations is already like maxed out. Like you're ready to go, you know what's ahead of you, and you know how to adapt to it. So I really feel like that's missing in this because of the roguelike aspect. Again, really cool that they're trying something different. And again, I think there's going to be an audience for this game. But I think a lot of people who are expecting something from an Elden Ring franchise experience are going to be disappointed specifically. It's not like you find a boss and you die and then you try it over and over again until you master it. It's like, who knows when you're going to see that boss again? I mean, you're probably going to see it pretty often, but you could have a completely different setup, different weapons, different type of build, different character and all that. So it changes the formula pretty drastically, even though the game engine feels very similar, which also leads to like character building and stuff like that. In Elden Ring, build crafting feels incredibly satisfying, because there's just so much you could do. There's so many types of builds, and you can take the time to learn the type of builds that you want to go for. I feel like that's just not in this game, because again, it's a roguelite, and they've added this mechanic where you basically have the Fortnite storm closing in on the map, which I don't mind. I actually think that's a really cool concept in a co-op PvE game, specifically. But the pacing of it, I think, is incorrect, especially for launch. Like, it feels kind of advanced and aggressive at this point. Like, maybe there should be like an introduction pace, where that storm is like maybe half the speed or a quarter of the speed initially, so people can learn the actual mechanics of where things are on the map and how it flows. And then as you understand the map pacing, you could step up to the level that's currently at and just have a better experience. Because I think right now a lot of people are going to jump in and just be caught off guard with how fast that thing closes in, especially when you get to like the night area. I had a few times where I was just like trapped on the side of a mountain cliff because I didn't know the map correctly. And then that was GG's. That's rip run right there. And I haven't even gotten to like the co-op / solo experience yet in this discussion, which also I think factors heavily into whether or not this game is going to be for you. So yeah, it's designed to be a co-op game, specifically 3-player co-op. And let's be honest, FromSoft's networking abilities haven't exactly been that great in the past, and it doesn't appear to be much better, at least initially. Again, these things could change, and I'm expecting them to do patches and fix things and all that. It's going to get better. But it's 2025, and a notable omission to this game is crossplay. This game desperately needs crossplay because a lot of people are going to play on PS5, a lot of people are going to play on Xbox, and a lot of people are going to play on Steam. I think there was a 300,000 peak Steam player count. So a bunch of people on Steam, and then there's going to be a bunch of people on console, and they're going to be like, oh, we should totally play. Except you can't, and who knows if that's ever going to happen, because they didn't put it in a launch, which obviously would have been really good for people to get in and, expand your potential friends list that have access to the game, but that's not the case. And it kind of reinforces the whole idea that, like, FromSoft isn't exactly the best at networking type of situations. A lot of the co-op experiences or the invasion process stuff in other games usually have a little jank around them, some issues here and there. And they obviously patch stuff that are clearly bugs and all that, but the networking tends to leave stuff a bit on the table, in comparison to other games that are, let's say, modern at this point. But I will say, if your friends are on the same platform, you can just add them to your expedition and then you're good to go. So that is nice. It's actually kind of an improvement from previous games' co-op experiences. But let's say you don't have friends, or they're on a different platform, they didn't buy it on the platform you're playing on, then you have to rely on matchmaking, or you have to rely on the solo experience. Matchmaking is going to be very, very hit or miss with this game, because there is a lot of knowledge to acquire to get good with Nightreign. Yes, it's built in the Elden Ring engine, and yes, it takes from a lot of the aspects of build crafting and all that in Elden Ring. But most people who play Elden Ring are not like Wikipedia level knowledge users and understand everything about why they would choose a particular weapon over another to go with whatever character they're using. One major criticism I have in this game is that it's not very obvious what weapons are going to be good for which characters you're using. Because certain characters will have build preferences, and you don't influence those at all. They are baked into the character. So they'll be like dexterity based or strength based, etc., etc. And you just have to know this stuff, essentially. There's no real hand holding, at least it doesn't feel like it to me on playing it. So you're going to need to be knowledgeable, essentially, right away to be effective in this game. And if you matchmake with people, you also need to rely on the fact that they're going to be knowledgeable on the game. So it kind of causes a pretty big issue depending on what type of players get match made. Which again, I think reinforces my point about how I think this is going to be more niche based of a population. Like there's going to be some people who absolutely love this game and crush it and are all about all the nuance and details that are kind of like in the game hidden, but also not hidden, but it's kind of hidden, you know, for the average player. And they're going to love it because they're like, yeah, this is my game and I know all about these details because they put time into it. But a lot of people who just pick up the game and matchmake, who might be on your team if you're a solo player, matchmaking with other people, are going to be absolutely clueless. So if you do take the time to get really knowledgeable and then you matchmake with someone who's clueless, it's going to be balanced around 3 people. Yet that third person or maybe 2 people are going to be nearly dead weight because they don't understand the mechanics. So the game's balanced around 3 people, but yet you're the main person carrying with 2 people who are clueless. So it's a problem. Also, there's no communication as well. These things could change though. Like they could add some sort of communication ability, voice chat with the matchmaking, which would help quite a bit. Because a lot of people are going to want to teach people, but they're not going to be able to at all unless there's some way to actually talk to them or communicate or, you know what I mean? So that's an issue right there. And I think that could put off a lot of people initially. And then, yeah, the solo experience. The solo experience, in my opinion, is going to be pretty brutal. Because in the co-op experience, if you go down, your friends can potentially get you up and save you from a full death. And that full death in the daytime costs you a whole level. It doesn't seem like it's going to be much, but in the actual playing of it, it can actually be a pretty severe penalty because you lose your currency to upgrade and you also lose a level. So if you die with a bunch of upgrade potential, not only do you lose the upgrade potential, but you also lose the level. You could go back and pick up your souls that you dropped, but let's say you die in the blue, which means you are definitely not going back and picking those up. Those are done. So as a solo experience, it's kind of brutal, honestly, because it feels like a Souls game, but you have no way of taking a moment and figuring stuff out like you normally would do after you die in a Souls game. You can kind of plan your stuff in a Souls game and be like, okay, I need to go back and take care of this, kill that guy, I'm going to approach it this way, try to pick up my souls real fast so I could recover that potential XP gained. And in Nightreign, they basically shortcutted that to where you need to go. Go. The blue circle is going to be closed again, and if you're not killing stuff and earning XP, then you are losing levels, which are going to be very important for doing boss fights very soon. As soon as the night happens, they're basically Souls bosses, so there's going to be some difficulty right there. And as soon as you die on a solo experience, you're not coming back to the instance. You're done. So again, if you're like a speedrunner or someone who really wants to have the challenge, then this could scratch that itch really well because it's do or die. So yeah, solo experience, a bit rough. I do know that they are patching stuff, and I think there's going to be something next week to balance it out better. So maybe they're going to balance the experience levels or how much damage things are, that type of stuff. It could absolutely shift and change down the road, and I'm expecting this game to evolve, Also, as far as I understand, there's only one map, and the map does shift and change a bit, but it's basically one map. Do you want to run around in the same area of Elden Ring for the most part in this game over and over? And this was kind of one of these things that made me go, I don't think I actually want to spend a bunch of time in this game. For all those reasons, it's the same area for the most part, the same super high stakes if you're playing solo, and I do like playing these games solo quite often. So not having that is definitely a discouragement. I have plenty of friends, and I can get plenty of people to play this game with me, so I'm not lacking in the co-op friends department. I just really like to have a good solo experience every now and then, or quite often actually, because I think it's fun. And this game, in my opinion, is pretty punishing from that aspect. Also, the looting system, it's okay. It gets the job done. It doesn't make me excited to see stuff drop, but yeah, it works, Also, the classes themselves are really fun. So I think they did a really good job in crafting different classes to play. There's obviously certain classes that are going to be better for solo versus co-op play. So I do think the variety in that side is actually pretty good. And I didn't even get a chance to play all of them, but I did notice various play styles happening with other people doing stuff and things I've seen online. So I think they did a good job with that. So I definitely want to give credit where credit's due. Anyways, I should wrap it up here. I do think this game is going to be the perfect game for some people. And I think a lot of people who absolutely loved Elden Ring are probably going to have conflicting emotions about this game because it is technically more Elden Ring, just in a very differently paced experience and environment and progression system that, for me, kind of takes away my enjoyment on there. So I will keep my eyes open and possibly check out this game after it's been patched and adjusted down the road. And maybe there's some new map adjustments or a whole nother map or something like that. I'm definitely not writing it off and saying I'm not going to play it ever. But as it is right now, I'm going to skip this game and not sink a bunch of time into it like I did with Elden Ring and the DLC. That's my rant. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time for another video. Bye.